Okay, I have 9
We have
o'clock.
is that anti-social distancing?
Maybe so.
Oh, yes.
Okay, thank you everyone for joining us today for the January 14th, 2022 meeting of the Energy and Environmental Committee. My name is Mavis Bates, and I would like to start this meeting. The time is now 9 a.m. Calling this meeting to order. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of December 17th?
Roll call.
Oh, call to order. Okay, my minutes
We're
don't seem.
6 feet away from each other. You see? You can
Okay, clerk, would you please call the roll?
Oh, bye-bye.
Alan? Caius?
Caius present.
Molina?
Molina present.
Strathman? Wallace?
Wallace present.
Woznicki? Present. Bates?
Bates present. Thank you very much. Now, may I have,
Jepro ex officio is present.
thank you, Mr. Shepro.
And Pirog is here as well.
Pirog, thank you. So we have our chairman and our vice chairman as ex officio members. Thank you for being here today. May I have a motion to approve the minutes from December 17th?
Wallace motion.
Caius motion, Todd second, Wallace seconds. Call the roll, please.
Alan? Caius?
Caius, yes.
Molina?
Molina, yes.
Strathman? Wallace?
Wallace, yes.
Woznicki? Yes. Bates?
Bates, yes, thank you. Is there any public comment for today? Online or in person? Okay, then we will move along. We have 3 presentations today, so I will ask Ms. Wolnick to present our new recycling resource coordinator and communications administrator. Jody, please.
Thanks. Good morning, everyone. I have 2 items this morning. First, I just wanted to let the committee know that Ms. Bates and myself, as well as our team, is working on updating the strategic plan, and that should be coming to committee on in the February meeting. So if you have any ideas or comments on the plan that we approved last January, please send them to me and we will incorporate them as best we can. So we look forward to that presentation next month. And then secondly, we're very excited to announce the arrival of our new recycling resource coordinator. Claire Ryan is here with us today and will be doing the first presentation for this meeting. And so we're throwing her into the deep end of the pool. We're very excited to have her joining the team. Not only does she have a background in recycling, but she also has water resources working in the Chesapeake Bay watershed. So we'll be keying her in with some of our water quality projects that we're working on with the rest of our team, as well as the sustainability project she'll be working on with Ivy. And so we have a lot more excitement on our team with the ability to work cooperatively and do much larger projects and have that synergy of the team mentality and the environmental management side of things. So welcome, Claire. Is there anything you want to add?
I don't think so. I mean, I just say there's no better place to start than the deep end. So I'm thrilled to be here.
We don't have Courtney Meyer with us this morning. We'll be bringing her to the February meeting. She was promoted to the communications administrator for our group. So she'll be doing a lot of the outreach related to recycling and sustainability, working cooperatively with Courtney and Ivy, or Claire and Ivy. So we'll bring her next month to introduce her to everyone.
Thank you very much, Ms. Wolnick. We are excited. And Claire was my mother's name, so I'm very happy to have a Claire on our team. I would like to turn to Ms. Ryan, please, for the presentation on recycling update, which is in the attached to the agenda.
All right, thank you very much. So there it goes. All right, I think one of the first projects I really got involved in starting here was distributing our wonderful 2022 Green Guide. The table of contents there is just on the left of the slide and the front cover on the right. It is a little bit different than what it's looked like in past years. We reduced the number of pages quite significantly from 8 to the historical 16. There were definitely some cost savings here in terms of just the amount of paper, the printing costs, and also the mailing costs. And I think, with people's limited attention spans, hopefully it really boils it down to the essential information. It focuses really strongly on what we're doing here at Kane County and doesn't include some of the, for example, the A to Z list of other recycling opportunities run by either private companies or other entities. However, all that information is still up on our very rich website. It also has a new look. It was designed internally by Cassie in the IT department. Just a little update on our recycling centers. We have 3 that we are responsible for operating: Fabian Parkway in Batavia. That one has relatively newly added Saturday hours. As you can see in red on the slide here, I think that's a huge benefit. Just for me personally, I'd struggle to get there on the weekdays, and that's the one I'd go to. So West Dundee up north, that one is open a little bit earlier, closes a little earlier. It's according to the Public Works facility there where the space is, and does not have Saturday hours. And then our newest one is Aurora. It is in partnership with an organization called Vet Tech. It just opened in June of 2021 and really kind of got off the ground that summer. It's in a very busy location, tons of traffic, but it can be a little bit difficult to see. I'm going to work on putting some like aerial photos, I hope, and maybe maps up on the website to help people find it a little bit easier. Its hours are 8 to 4 and does not currently have Saturday hours either. We've expanded the list of accepted items. Electronics are still a very major component of the program, but we have a somewhat expanded list of electronics that are accepted, all for free, with the exception of televisions and computer monitors. That's what the little asterisk means, is that there is a fee to recycle those because they have so many different components that need to be broken down by the recycler. Appliances, we are able to recycle most household appliances, the exception being anything that contains Freon, such as a refrigerator, air conditioner, freezer, that kind of thing. Scrap metal, I believe, is a relatively new addition. Essentially anything made of metal from a household source. Lawn furniture components, a barbecue grill without the propane tank, fire pits, pots and pans, all that kind of thing. If they're not reusable, we can recycle them at the centers. Clothing and shoes, really clothing items of any kind, as long as they're not like clean or they're not dirty or unsanitary. They'll take shoes and clothes in any condition, so wearable or not. Which is a little bit different than places like Salvation Army or Goodwill. Sheets, towels, like really any household textile is acceptable at our sites. Books, and again, these books can be in any condition too, readable, resellable, or really needing to be recycled. Paper, cardboard, shredded paper. Some of these, of course, can go in your curbside bin, but not all shredded paper, for example, they don't want in those curbside bins. And then 2 new products that we're kind of piloting right now are aerosol cans. They have to be, empty. It can't be like the hazardous waste component, but like household aerosols. And then propane canisters, not the large ones you would use for a barbecue grill, but small ones that would be used perhaps to keep catered food warm or in a camping situation. And there are costs for those as well, fairly minimal. And just to announce our 2022 events, as normal, most of our events are going to be held at the Traffic Court Building at 540 South Randall Road in St. Charles. They'll be on Saturday mornings. For sure, we'll be there in May, taking paint, aerosol products, and doing document shredding. The extravaganza, I guess, is tentative. I'm not 100% sure we're going to have it this year, but Jody and I, I'm sure we'll be discussing that. If we do, it'll be in July. Then later in the summer, we'll have a document shredding only. And in the fall, again, paint, aerosol, and document shredding. And we also have an annual special event held at a different location at the Pushing the Envelope Farm in Geneva for recycling those festive pumpkins. So that's all I had. I have the same basic contact information as Jen. My desk phone number is the same, and the recycle at County of Kane email address is the same. I have one that goes to my name as well. That's Ryan Claire at co.kane.il.us. And yeah, that's what I have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Miss Ryan. That just brings us all up to date. We are so excited to have you with us, and I understand from Jody that you're excited to do the recycling and probably some sustainability programs. I know Jody and Ivy are excited to have you. I was volunteering at the a Saturday event that we had in Aurora, and it was amazing the kind of things that people were bringing. So it's amazing the things we are accepting. So I've made several trips there since that Saturday. I'd like to know from you, do you need volunteers for your events? And my committee likes to volunteer. So please let us know if you need volunteers for those event days.
I will, thank you. Yeah, I do anticipate that all of the events will need volunteers, so I will be asking.
Okay, all right, great. Well, thank you very much. Now I would like to ask, are we ready for Ivy? Okay.
Madam Chair, Wonicky here.
Oh,
Just a
certainly.
comment. I would like to welcome Claire, and it's good to have you here. Just looking at the list, I was thinking about corrugated cardboard boxes, and it seems the trend today is home delivery through whatever, FedEx, UPS, Amazon. And I see so many corrugated boxes going into the garbage. So maybe that's something we could stress and focus on a little bit better and let people know that those are recyclable items.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think the bubble wrap sleeves are a little bit like, oh, what do I do with those? But yeah, the boxes are highly recyclable. So
Yeah,
we certainly can do a little bit more outreach on those.
that would be great. Thank you.
Ms. Ryan?
Madam
Oh.
Chair,
Mr. Caius.
Caius, yes, thank you. Yeah, my condolences, you've joined us, or no, my congratulations. We're lucky.
Thank you,
This is
Mr. Caius.
a tough but rewarding venue, I think, and we're really excited to have you.
Thank you so much.
And I do have one question, back to the slide of the recycling centers. A couple slides up there. It doesn't mention our west location, does it, out in Melbourne? Is that?
It doesn't, because it's not operated by the county or through a contract directly with the county, but there is a location in Elburn operated by LSR, Lakeshore Recycling, that accepts electronics and probably most of the things on our list.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
I just saw it on the green guide. There's 4 listed on the green guide and then just 3 on the slide. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. I have another question. Is there any way, this is one of those things you shouldn't ask at the committee meeting. Is there any way we can get plastic bags recycled at our centers? And we don't have to answer that question right now, but they're tough.
They are tough. I mean, so many of the large retailers do take them. It's just they don't necessarily advertise it.
Yeah.
So it's not too hard to find somewhere to take them. I can talk a little bit with eWorks to see about at our centers.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments for our new Miss Ryan?
I
Now-
do, maybe.
Oh, sure,
This
Mr.
is-
Copey.
Thank you. Good morning. I've offered a challenge to the last post, and in regards to the grocery stores, the local stores that where produce comes into, not produce mainly, but more of the proteins come into expiration date, and they simply just throw it away. And from what I understand, the United States wastes about 25% of its food. And I don't even know if that, and I think that's just table scrap, and that does not include the out of date scenario. So the challenge I offered was probably to create a directive to go across the county local stores to where they could offer the recycle of those produce, or at least consider the dehydration of those food stocks and repurpose them into animal feed and so on. And the reason for that is if Americans are wasting 25% of their food, and who knows what the percentage is on out of date, there was a tremendous amount of work, labor, effort, fertilizers. It would probably be the main concern. Tremendous amount of nitrogen went into producing the feedstock to produce those proteins, and then they just get thrown in the garbage. And you know, when you're dealing with 100% protein base for an animal feed, I think it makes all kinds of sense, but it's just not a popular idea for some reason. I just don't get it. And if you could maybe take on that challenge, that'd be great. Thank you.
Thanks. I do know that a lot of the progress that has been made with organic material recycling has kind of started with some of those larger vendors like grocery stores and the big box stores. I don't know what the status of it is yet, but it's something I'll definitely read up on and work to move forward. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Copey. And I think that one thing I'm interested in is curbside recycling. And so hopefully we'll be able to look into that as well. So we have yeah, Ms. Ryan, you won't be bored.
Madam Chair, I have one more thing. I hate to interrupt, but it's in regards to the collection that I had participated in last summer.
Yeah, we were both there, right?
Yes, we were. And I have to inform you that the sheer volume of the traffic was nearly overwhelming. And be prepared. You will need volunteers. It was a hard push all day, and I stood in the middle of an intersection all day directing obstinate traffic, and just be prepared for that.
You did a great job. And the worst part was we were kind of in the way of the gamblers. And they really wanted, because we were right by the casino in Aurora. And
yes, point in case. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Thank you, Mr. Copey. It is overwhelming when you get all that traffic coming. So any other comments? These are good comments.
This is an impertinent question, Shepro. When you have that kind of traffic volume, particularly if it's in the summer, how does the output of emissions from the people driving compare with the value of what they're bringing to recycle?
The emissions are 1/100th of the emissions of the things that are being recycled. And I just made that up because it was an impertinent answer. But you have a very good point, but we try to keep the traffic moving as best we can. And this is, maybe they were all driving electric cars. When they're all driving
There we
electric cars, the emissions will be 0. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Shepro. May we go to Ivy? Ms. Klee?
Hi, everyone. Oh. Hello. Hi, everyone. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you. I'm very excited today. We have Arnie Schrammel with Progressive Energy Solutions, who's going to be giving us a presentation on the Illinois Climate and Equitable Jobs Act. Arnie's going to walk us through some of the opportunities that are going to be available to King County and also throughout the region as a result of the passing of this act.
Thanks, Ivy. And thanks, Mavis, for inviting me today to talk a little bit about the new legislation that was passed last year by the Illinois legislature and signed by the governor. The bill, the bill was actually took about 3 years to pass. There was 24 different interest groups that were providing a lot of input on this bill. There was a lot of negotiations that went into this legislation. And like a lot of big legislation, I think all parties were a little bit happy and a little bit unhappy. So most parties got some of what they wanted. Nobody got everything they wanted, but it was a good compromise, in my opinion. The bill alone is 988 pages long, but on top of that, the Illinois Power Authority and the Illinois Commerce Commission are working up another couple thousand pages of legislation. So I'm not trying to bring to the committee all 3,000 pages of everything that's in this bill, but it's a massive bill. But the good thing is it puts Illinois on a trajectory to be 100% clean energy in 3 decades. And this is basically the 3rd bill in the last 12 years that has passed. And each bill kind of learns off the previous bill. The previous bill, the Future Energy Jobs Act, basically was a commitment to get to 25% clean power by 2024, but we weren't going to get there. The nice thing with this bill is there's real concrete money and goals and programs in place now to help meet these goals going forward. The 3rd bullet point, there's $580 million marked each year to build out wind and solar, including increased funding for community solar with a goal to increase the state's renewable energy standards by 40% in 2030 and 50% by 2040. The bill also includes a lot of other things. I'm just going to recap a couple things. The bill includes funding for training programs that increase opportunities for biopic people in renewable energy industries, expands energy efficiency and weatherization programs in low-income communities, and mandates new labor standards across the clean energy industry. There is a large bailout for the state's nuclear industry. It earmarks almost $700 million to prevent the closure of Byron and Dresden. There's 6 nuclear power plants in Illinois, and now 4 of them, 2 of them under the Future Energy Jobs Act, and now 2 more under the CEJA Act that are receiving subsidies to continue running. Residents and businesses will pay more for power over the next 10 years, and I'll cover that in a slide or two. But they'll be paying more for that, but there'll also be, if residents and businesses take advantage of the energy efficiency and some of the solar credits, they can get more of that money back. There's also $4,000 rebates for electric car purchases that start in June of this year. So I know there's a lot of information on this slide, but basically there's $9.5 billion going to be spent under the CEJA Act over the next 10 years. The first line item I got on there is coal to solar. So what does that mean? What happened here is, especially in downstate Illinois, where some of these large coal plants were built, those coal plants were anywhere from 40 to 60% of the property tax base in some of these communities for their school districts and their local government. There's a special carve out for those solar areas to put in large scale solar, which will make up a lot of that property tax reduction when those coal plants are retired. So the jobs are still going away, but the property tax base in those communities should be comparable to what they are today once they convert those large solar or large coal plants to solar. The next one is a ComEd distributed generation incentive. What does that mean? So with solar in the ComEd territory, there's three big incentives. One is the federal tax credit. Two is the ComEd, what they call DG rebate or distributed generation rebate. And the third is the grants from the Illinois Power Authority for the SRECs. So this bill was basically extending this DG rebate, the ComEd DG rebate, out for another 10 years. Now, King County, Batavia, St. Charles, Geneva, all have their own power companies. They're not in the ComEd service zone. So people in Geneva, St. Charles, Batavia are not eligible to receive the DJ rebates. It's really only if you're a ComEd customer. There's also the next one, it's called the DG storage incentive. This is new to Illinois. This is incentives for battery backup power. That's brand new right now. So there's a lot of stuff. Those programs are being written right now by the Illinois Power Authority. But I'll be interested to see how those programs develop over the next couple of years. There's a big line item up in here, $2.6 billion for solar and wind incentives from the Illinois Power Authority. Again, that was an extension of the FEJA bill, and I'll kind of talk about where that money is slotted to be spent over the next 5 to 10 years. There's energy efficiency programs. There's a lot of money for energy efficiency programs. Again, people know what this is. It's weatherization. It's rebates on high efficiency furnace and air conditioners. For the industrial customers, there's a lot of money for VFD drives and ways to make everybody use less power than they're using.
What's a
today.
VFD drive, please? Variable
frequency drive. It basically means it's for large motors. Instead of running at one speed, they can actually move those motors almost like your car engine, move them up or down depending on how much power they need.
Great, thanks.
And thanks for when I use these acronyms, please stop me because I use them all the time. There's money in here for electric integrated grid planning. So when the grid was originally built, up in this area, it was basically built for 13 big power plants, coal and nuclear, and all the power went from these 13 power plants to roughly the 3 million ComEd meters. Over the next 5-10 years, we're probably going to be down to just the 5 or 6 nuclear power plants, and then literally thousands of smaller solar and wind distributed around the whole grid. So the grid was designed to push power one way, and now you're going to have literally thousands of small power plants on the grid. So that's going to require some planning and upgrade to the electric grid. There's a electric charging infrastructure. That is really money completely dedicated to build out the car charging network in Illinois. And this one is generally class 2 and 3. I'll talk a little bit about that. But that in conjunction with the federal bill that was passed last fall, the infrastructure bill has $7.5 billion for charging stations. So there's a lot of money across the whole country and additional money in Illinois for building out electric car charging infrastructure. There's Equitable Energy Upgrade Program. Again, that's money carved out for low income people. You see there's a big number in there for the nuclear subsidies for the next 5 years. They're scheduled to sunset in 2026 under this plan. But this is my personal, I think that's probably going to get extended out beyond 2026 in a couple of years. There's a lot of money in here for ComEd performance-based rates. That'll be debated at the Illinois Commerce Commission. with utilities over the next couple of years. That doesn't start really to 2024. Credit card socialization, if you have a ComEd bill, you can now pay with a credit card without a service fee. And then there's a lot more money for energy assistance too for low income people. And then there's some additional money for the Illinois Commerce Commission. But again, there's a lot of money in this program. And then, if we go to the next slide, how does that impact, individual people? So for the average home in the ComEd territory that uses roughly 10,000 kilowatt hours a year, just this bill, if you don't do anything else, in 2022, your cost will go up $62 or roughly $5 a month. The yellow line kind of shows what Kane County uses. Kane County, under their ComEd, uses roughly 10 million kilowatt hours a year. So the CJ Act will increase the cost of the county roughly $62,000 a year in 2022 and then go up in the out years. But, the county's done a good thing already because the county's already doing a big solar project, and that, when we originally did it, was going to save around $400,000 a year over the old rates. Those savings based on where the new rates will actually go up. So again, these programs are out there. There's a lot of money going in, but there's all that money's coming out too. It's just incumbent on everybody to take advantage of it where you can. Are there any questions on this slide?
I have a comment on the slide before.
Okay.
I don't know if I should wait to the end or not, but I wanted to say a comment about the Exile nuclear subsidies. I hope no one thinks this is a nuclear bailout bill because, according to CUB, keeping carbon-free nuclear power plants open is the fastest, cheapest way for Illinois to fight climate change. The company pushed for a much bigger subsidy, but got billions of dollars less. So they got 138 million. They were asking for billions. So I hope that, I hope next time it'll be even less, but at least it wasn't growing. It's not, that number is a lot less than they asked for. So that's my comment there.
Opportunities for King County residents and businesses, the electric vehicle purchases. This starts in July of this year. It's $4,000 and it's not available right now to everybody in Illinois, but it is available to everybody in basically Northern Illinois that's paying into the rebate fund through the gas tax. You must own an electric vehicle for 12 months and live in one of these participating communities. You must apply for the credit within 90 days. And the rebate is income restricted. You can't have an income that exceeds 80% of the area's median income. And roughly in Kane County, it's a household income of $155,000. And also our understanding, this is not available to fleet operators. This is targeted to individual residents. Charging stations. And a lot of this is being written right now. The bill passed, there's a lot of money targeted to charging stations. Exactly how that's going to be rebated out is being finalized, hopefully here in the next few months. But it is going to be big rebates, 50 to 80% rebates on level 2 and level 3 charging stations. And the focus is going to be on charging stations that are open to the public, not charging stations that are behind a fence that the public can't get to. Additional solar opportunities. Staff and I have talked, Mavis, when King County originally did the big solar field at the Judicial Center, it was limited to 2 megawatts. You couldn't put more than 2 megawatts on any one site. So that's one of the reasons we put the multi-purpose building and some of that stuff on the back burner. But under the new CJ Act, they expanded that 2 megawatt limit to 5 megawatts. So in talking with the staff later on this year, once we get a little bit further down the road with the existing solar field, we'll take a look at that complex. In addition, the county is hired Wright & Companies to update the master plan. And once that's completed, we'll take a look at some of your other facilities to see if solar is a good economic fit. The economics aren't as good for your facilities located in Geneva, St. Charles, Batavia as they are in the ComEd territory, but there is still good economic programs. And we're going to take a look at that a little bit later this year and then come back to the county with maybe a longer term plan on solar. This is basically a graph showing how the RPS, or renewable portfolio, standards will be increasing. Again, the goal is to get to 40% by 2030, 31 plan year, 50% by 2040, 41. And this is really solar and wind. This doesn't include nuclear. When they're talking about renewable portfolio standards, it's really, in our case, it's basically all wind and solar in this state. You know, where's all this going to be? Utility scale is 8,000 megawatts. Now, what does that mean? So if those of you are familiar with Byron, the nuclear plant, it's roughly 2,300 megawatts. So when you're talking utility scale, there's basically going to be 4 Byron power plants built between utility scale wind and solar. A couple other things, you know, the new windmills are about 2 megawatts apiece. So this basically means over the next 5 to 7 years, there's going to be 2,000 additional windmills built in Illinois, 4,000 megawatts of new solar. So most of you are familiar with your site at the Judicial Center is 2 megawatts. So in relative terms, there'll be 2,000 of those built. But these are generally going to be 400 to 500 acre sites, these utility scale sites. Another way to look at it, there'll be 8,000 acres of solar field built under utility scale in Illinois. Again, between those 2 big ones, what they're basically going to replace is a lot of the natural gas power plants that are in Illinois right now and coal. Some of you know the last 2 coal plants in the ComEd zone were shut down last year up in Waukegan and down by Romeoville. So in Northern Illinois, there's actually no more coal plants. There are coal plants down in Southern Illinois. Most of those coal plants are going to be phased out over the next 6 years. And then the one in Springfield and the one downstate, Prairie, those are scheduled to last longer, but those are also scheduled to be shut down. On top of the utility scale, in the industry, we call it distributed generation. There's another 5,800 megawatts of new solar that's going to be built. They're going to have leeway on exactly where these categories are, but there's multiple categories. There's community solar, commercial, residential, public schools, equity, and community driven. So
Arnie, where do we fit?
Well, for like your, most years will be considered commercial industrial.
Okay.
Again, and they got specific targets in the bill for how much should come from each of these zones. But they're also granted the Illinois Power Authority to say, hey, if there's a bigger rump in residential and less in public schools, you can move money around. In addition to that, for the public schools, there's a special super incentive for tier 1 schools, which basically means low income school districts. What I wanted to do, you know, there's a lot of solar being built and they got categories, but there's no absolute block. They can move these resources around. Diversity and equity provisions, prevailing wage is now required on all solar projects over 25 kW, excluding residential projects. 10% of all funding is reserved for equity eligible contracts or persons. There's built-in preferences for low-income school districts. There's a $50 million a year carve-out under the Illinois Solar for All program. And I should have defined what that is. Illinois Solar for All is a special money carved out for nonprofits and governmental facilities that are located in environmental justice communities. And under this program, if you participate in it, first you have to be in an environmental justice community and a low income community. But if you are a governmental nonprofit, there's special money out there that'll guarantee that your electric bill will go down at least 65%. Again, most of those projects are built by a third party who owns them, much like King County. Third party owns it and then sells the power back to the person consuming it. But under that special carve out, the rate has to be at least 65% less than they're paying today. And then just this last slide, it doesn't really have to do with the CEJA bill. I just wanted to kind of give the committee an update on electric pricing. Electricity, much like a lot of the commodities in last year, has gone way up. How you read this graph, if you look on the far left, where it says like January 2011, you can buy power like in 2011, you could have bought power for 2015 or 2016. Or if you go into the far right side of the graph, now that we're in early 22, you can actually buy power for 23, 24, 25 in the market. So like a lot of commodities, after we came out of the first lockdown, the prices of electricity have gone way up in the last year. Now, what does that mean? That means everybody's going to be paying more for electricity. Unless you've got natural built-in hedges, like the county's got a natural hedge now because at your judicial center, you're going to get roughly 35% of your power from solar, and you're locked into a rate, just over 3 cents for 25 years. So it's just something to keep in the back of your mind, as you want to continue looking to capture some of this money coming from CEJA. And that's really our goal, is to explain to our customers, there's a lot of money in these programs, but unless you take some proactive actions for energy efficiency or solar, you won't be capturing the money that's there. And with that, I'm open to any questions.
Madam Chair?
Yes, please, go ahead.
On the previous slide, I guess I'm not familiar with the term environmental, is that justive community?
Yeah, it's a special designation for communities where there's been environmental contamination. They're general low-income communities that there's definitely some spaces in the county. Aurora's got some specific designations, and Elgin specific areas that are designated as environmental justice communities. But they're generally in older communities with, they used to be like industrial sites that have contamination on them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else have a question?
Copy, please.
Mr. Copey, don't you have a question? Okay, good.
Yes, sir. This is thank you, Madam Chair. This is in regards to nuclear power. I understand that there are two types of reactor, and one is that is being recently touted by specifically Bill Gates is a private built system. And as far as I know, in one of the Western states, he's been awarded a franchise to construct one. And these are the molten salt type reactors. And this is the type of reactor that the Bush administration had vehemently opposed throughout their entire administration, in which caused a nearly world war in Iran, Iraq, and so on. And as far as I know, the Iranians are pursuing the building of molten salt reactors, which ultimately produce plutonium and weapons grade plutonium. And I was curious, if we pursue nuclear reactors, will it be the old style uranium base, where or the rebaking of in breeder reactors, as what is now going on? I'm curious if this idea will instigate and produce a new concern, not a new concern, but revive an old concern of nuclear proliferation. And it's a very serious question. And don't lose sight of that. I'm asking everybody who's willing to listen, do not lose sight of that fact that that there is a proliferation of plutonium in the generation in these breeder reactors, these molten salt reactors. Now, back in the day, the concern was acid rain, and the environmentalists were all over the case about acid rain. And of course, that went away. There was no such thing as acid rain, but this is a real concern. It's mathematically and physically proven. So keep an eye out on that. That's all I ask.
Mr. Copey, these bills are definitely on a trajectory to eliminate all nuclear from Illinois, not right away, but because there's still a lot of dangers in nuclear power, and because solar and wind are very renewable, nuclear power still has to be, especially the fission type that we have today, still has to be mined. So we really want to drive the world on sunshine if we can. So thank you for your concern about that. And that's one more reason to run the world on sunshine and wind. Are there any other questions or comments?
Madam Chair, Fry's comment.
Yes, please go ahead, Mr. Fries.
Yeah, on Mr. Copey's comment and your earlier comments on nuclear, I just think we should be very careful when we speak about eliminating nuclear power and speaking as far as projecting a policy standpoint from Kane County. I would like that to be a board level policy and not just the chairman of the Energy Committee. I think there's a lot of future, positive future things that could come from the next generation nuclear. I've got an article right in front of me in a newspaper today about it. So I think we should be very careful about just saying we're going to eliminate it and never look back.
Okay, I take your comment. I appreciate your comment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, if there are no other questions, I buried my copy of here we go. Is there any new business to cover? So my comments today are, in December, as the chair, I get to give a comment on last year, and today I get to give a comment on what we hope to accomplish this year in 2022. As Ms. Wolnick stated, we will be working on a strategic plan for 2022. And I'm looking forward to all the great things that this committee can accomplish. And may I have a motion to replace the reports on file?
Caius move.
Caius, please. Caius moves. Second?
Wonicky seconds.
Wonicky seconds. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Allen, Caius,
Caius, yes.
Molina,
Molina, yes.
Strathman, Wallace,
Yes.
Wojnicki,
Yes.
Bates.
Bates, yes. I believe we have no reason to go into executive session. And I want to thank everybody to be here today. And thank you, Mr. Schrammel, for your great presentation. This is all about the future of energy in Kane County and solar and renewable energy and how we can take advantage of this $9.5 billion. But the fruits will go to those of us who reach out for it. So may I have a motion to adjourn, please?
Caius move.
Caius moves.
Wonicky seconds.
Okay, well, Nikki seconds. Thank you very much. This meeting is now adjourned.